Well. This is the old biologist one more time. And I'm going to talk about one here that is very near and dear to me. Probably long overdue. It's probably going to ruffle some feathers, but that's not my intent. I'm not going to call anybody a sissy on this one. Some people are misled, but I'm going to try to make a plea at the end of this thing. Because hunters, we have a tendency to be our own worst enemy. And for example, the fall turkey hunters versus the spring turkey hunters. The spring turkey hunters don't like the fall hunters. To the tune of, in my state now, there is no fall turkey hunting opportunity whatsoever anymore. Because it had a perception of killing a significant number of hens, which it didn't. Still deer hunters don't like dog hunters. Woo! Not narn. Dog hunters don't like still hunters. Nobody wants people squirrel hunting during deer season down here. And that time period when we had a fall turkey season, it had to be over with before that big boy gun deer season opened up now. See where I'm going with this? Bow hunters don't like rifle hunters. Rifle hunters don't like bow hunters. We're our own worst enemy. Everybody hates the state wildlife biologist, pretty much. They're either malicious or stupid. Which, here's a little known fact. A guy or gal that's going to invest 5 to 7 or 8 years or more into formal, painful education to make what those people make, they have to love the resource. They love it. They devoted their life to it. They have worked incredibly hard to get a degree or two. And then they go give presentations and they talk to hunting clubs. And they talk to hunters, and the hunters think they don't know what they're talking about because they haven't spent copious amounts of time on their property. These people have been trained to go to a property and know exactly what to look for. And they can tell you what your deer density is, if they're pretty good at their job, within a couple of hours. And get real close. They can tell you whether you need to shoot more or less. So please cut those people some slack. Those people started in that profession because they love to hunt. That's why I went into that profession, because I love to hunt. I didn't want to work in the outdoor industry. I wanted to be on the front lines. I didn't want to sell stuff. Okay? So the CWD naysayers. The CWD requires you to change. Most of us don't want to change. CWD is very real, and I understand that we had a pandemic a couple of years ago, a handful of years ago, and some very influential people pushed the narrative. And I get it. Nobody wants to trust the .gov. Nobody. But the argument that CWD is by design, CWD is a government plot to get rid of deer and attack the 2A. I understand that skeptical, flat earth, tinfoil hat mindset. I get it. because nobody wants to trust somebody in a uniform with the government. But the white-tailed deer is the conservation goose that laid the golden egg. State agencies have to have a viable deer herd to survive because 95+% of the hunters in this country hunt white-tailed deer. From an outdoor industry perspective, it would be a total collapse of most of the outdoor industry if deer hunting went away. And we're one study away from that potentially happening. I'm not going to go any further with that. But the chance of people catching CWD is not zero. They could, I'm not going to say it has happened. I'm not going to say it will happen. I'm saying that variant Creutzfeldt-Jakob's disease can happen. CWD has jumped from deer to raccoons, from raccoons back to deer. It has jumped to feral swine. The nasal bots, worms that fall out of their nose whenever you're cleaning them in the fall and winter, they got it. Macaque monkeys ingested infected material, they got it. And it is 100% fatal. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. You can't refill the spongy holes in the brain that the disease eats. You can't. And somebody's going to call me stupid, and I don't really care, because I've seen captive deer die at a rate of 1 a week from this disease. I've seen very viable populations in my home state tank from this disease that otherwise would have been able to contend with whatever they have been contending with these challenges and moved on. What I want to talk about is, number one, the CWD naysayers. You got to try to get to the bottom and ask, why do they want to poo-poo the disease? What dog in the race do they have? Now, I understand that we all want to hang on to deer hunting, but if CWD and the spread of CWD as a result of baiting and artificial movement, be it carcass, be it cargo trailer, the artificial movement of deer coupled with baiting is a clear and present danger to our natural resource and to our lifestyle. So, why do they have a dog in the race? Why would they poo-poo the disease other than they don't want to deal with the change? Would there possibly be a financial incentive? One of the most outspoken I know of plays guitar for a living. He's elbow deep in the captive industry. And he says deer have been living CWD since the beginning of time. No, they haven't. With some of the trends in Arkansas and north central Mississippi, we wouldn't have deer if they'd been dealing with this disease. They'd be gone, like the passenger pigeon, or an unhuntable population. Others that poo-poo the disease, they feel that they have to be able to hunt with bait. Have to. So, are they trying to do what's best for the natural resource, or they just want their way? That's the question we have to ask. And I understand that the schools of thought are out there is like, well, if they're going to die anyway, just let me have a good time. Others don't trust the government. Others Just plain old don't understand it. And it's scary. And I don't like it. It sucks. I don't like having to consider having a throw down knife for every deer I claim. I don't like having to replace a cooler. But I've been testing every deer I feed to my family since no earlier than 2015 because I knew it was coming, and we popped positive in February of 2018. And when I got the call, because of the skin in the game that I had and preventing it from getting here, I was naive. I thought that maybe we could work our way out of preventing it. You can't. Not when people just across the state line are doing nefarious stuff on every side. You can't stop it because deer don't stop. Well, I had a very negative reaction to it, and it hit me in the guts and knocked me down for about a month. I found an outlet to deal with it. But I'm going to tell you, for most of my life, deer hunting has been there for me when other things happen. I used to love deer hunting as much as that old boy. I watch him every now and again. I'm that old boy on Seek One, that Ellis boy. I loved it as much as he did. He does. When everything went bad, I could go deer hunting and I was better. CWD changed all that. Now every one of them I walk up to, I wonder if I hadn't got it every single time. But I still go, and I still enjoy it. It's just a little different. I haven't had a positive at my home yet, but it eventually will. Maybe I'll be old and done by then. But I ask you, if somebody is naysaying this disease based on the permanence and based on the mortality rate, follow the money. What dog in the race do they have to convince you that you don't need to worry about it? Because this disease, Teddy Roosevelt, Gifford Pinchot, all of the great fathers of conservation, Aldo Leopold, they had their fight. They had the age of exploitation in the late 1800s and early 1900s, and they saw populations crash. None of us have seen that. They had their conservation fight. For deer hunters, chronic wasting disease is the fight of our lifetime. This is our generation's fight. And the folks that want to just be left alone and let me enjoy the deer if they're going to die anyway, I understand that. Believe me. Just let me shoot them and hunt them and enjoy them. But do you want to take the opportunity, possibly, for your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, to enjoy the deer herds that we've had? Maybe. There's a chance if we can find a way to beat it. And maybe the captive industry can be our ally in doing that. Because there's been a few people from the captive industry that have watched deer in their facilities die that now realize that it is a very real danger. State biologists are not real good at crying uncle and laying down, especially when something threatens a wildlife resource as important as the white-tailed deer. Do you just lay down? Do you just quit? Just give up? Roll over and let it rape you? Or do you stand up and do you get in a fight? That's the question each one of you has to ask yourself. Am I going to lay down and die and watch what I love die and take away opportunities from people in my line that may want to enjoy it and talk about how good it used to be, or do you want to try to get into the fight? Dog hunters, still hunters, turkey hunters, captive industry. All of us stand to lose. CWD doesn't care. It's like C.S. Lewis said, Satan's greatest trick is convincing you he doesn't exist. CWD doesn't care what you think. It's just going to cook and kill. So please consider, first, cutting your state biologists some freaking slack. They're underpaid and overworked, and they're unappreciated. Yeah, used to be that guy. I quit because I was going to have a heart attack if I stayed. The first step in beating this, keep hunting. Second step that you can do is, please, for the love of all that's good and holy, I know it sucks and I know you're going to make people angry, but please get your dead gum deer tested. Get them tested, even if you got to freeze the meat and come back to it. Or even if you just want to go ahead and process it and cast lots. Get your freaking deer tested. Most states offer it for free. I'm blessed. I live in a state that offers it for free. There's no reason not to here. And I'll wind it up with this. If you want to get in the fight, do those two things. And if anybody thinks it's not real, I would challenge you to take you a show enough good, hot deer. Grill that son up. And not only you eat it, but have your children eat it if you don't believe in it. Take a good hot one, A-frame stance, salivating head down, standing in a creek, drinking and peeing at the same time, and shoot it and cook it and eat it and feed it to your baby girl if you don't believe in it. And I guarantee you, nobody will. I appreciate all of y'all. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback, some negative, I get it. There's trolls everywhere, and I probably deserve it for calling baiters sissies. But I got my reasons for disagreeing with feeding and baiting, because it's just a clear and present danger. Thank y'all. I want the best for all of us as deer hunters and conservationists, and I dang sure want what's best for the deer. Because CWD sucks. It sucks for the deer, bad. It sucks for the biologist, and it sucks for the hunters. And it just sucks. And we have to change. And that's the unfortunate fact. Thank y'all for listening to old boy like me talk down here in the shop on this windy day. And I will catch you next time.